And then in that moment, you're easy to control. Why? Because what you want on a physiological, biological level is to alleviate that discomfort. And what is paired up with this information that you're often presented is a solution, quote unquote.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
What is up, deep divers? It's me, Adam Roa, and I am here today with another deep dive musing. That just means it's just me and you. It is me and you. I'm going to take you deep into the recesses of my mind right now to really look at this topic today that I want to speak about, which is how you're being controlled and what you can do about it. Because it's a tricky landscape out there in the world right now. It's a little bit intense, yeah? And I feel as if you've heard me speak to the fact that awareness gives us choice, right? And I want to give you awareness to something you may not be aware of about how you're actually being controlled and manipulated. And this applies to me too, because it's being done in an almost biological way. And that's important to recognize because it's not like you're actively participating in it. It's actually people who understand how to penetrate into that deep psychological, biological level, right? And so before I dive into that, I just want to remind you that this podcast spreads through the help of you. So please, please, please take a moment and leave a review. Make sure you hit that follow and that subscribe button because this is how you boost the algorithm and make sure that this thing actually gets seen. And I want to say thank you to those of you who have already done that. I appreciate you so much. And now let's dive into it. Let's dive deep. So the content that is going out right now on the internet, right? Or not even just the internet, on the television and everywhere. Most of the content that's going out on this planet right now is being controlled through the mainstream, we'll call them the mainstream media, and there's a certain narrative that they want you to believe, okay? And the thing about that is that they also understand that the best way to get you to believe it is to deliver it to you in highly emotional states. Because what happens is when we create a highly emotional connection to information, we take it in and we create an attachment to it. All right? This is why, by the way, most of your deep beliefs about who you are and what the world is and all of that form before the age of 7, because in that time you are, one, just the neuroplasticity in your brain is crazy. So you're developing all of these connections, but you're also developing them in highly emotional states. You see kids, one moment they're crying their face off and the next moment they're laughing and they're smiling. They live in that emotion. And those heightened emotional states create deep somatic responses in the body where that information gets put in and stored and creates the belief systems that you take on. And when you are presented with new information, generally, like right now, when you're being presented with information, you're actually making different connection points in your brain, you're accessing your memories, you're accessing your own neurological pathways to determine, is this true for me? Do I believe this? I haven't thought about these two things before, but okay, like maybe, do I have any other evidence that goes against this? And yet, if you're in a heightened emotional state and you're receiving that information, what's happening actually physiologically in your body is the blood flow is being reduced from the prefrontal cortex of your brain and is going to the amygdala and the limbic brain. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that's actually responsible for rational thought, more logical thinking. And the amygdala and the limbic brain, that's where your instinctual kind of reptilian brain comes in, very primal fight or flight response. And so think about that. If you're being presented information while you're in a heightened emotional state, your ability to think rationally and critically is actually reduced. Biologically, this is happening. And so your ability to question what you're receiving and see, I wonder if that's actually true, that gets reduced. And so now you're in that fight or flight response, and what are you wanting to do? You're wanting to alleviate that discomfort. You're wanting to get out of fight or flight. You're wanting to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and just go, I can relax. My nervous system can relax. And so you're just looking for a solution. And so what happens when you're being presented information that you haven't thought of before? You're being told, hey, here's this problem and this problem. Look at how big the problem is. And you're being presented it in a way that activates your fear response, that activates your emotions, that is paired with a really sad story or a story that makes you super angry. Your emotions are being heightened so that your prefrontal cortex loses its blood flow so that you can't actually question it rationally, and then you accept what you're being told because you don't really have another viewpoint contradicting it. You can't even really access that. And then in that moment, you're easy to control. Why? Because what you want on a physiological, biological level is to alleviate that discomfort. And what is paired up with this information that you're often presented is a solution, quote unquote. Go do this. Go get this injection or don't get this injection. Go vote for this person or don't vote for this person. Whatever it is, you're being told what to do. You're being presented with the solution to the discomfort. And yet, the discomfort was created in the presenting of the problem. The problem itself was presented with that uncomfortable emotion so that you wouldn't necessarily question it, so that you can be told what to do and you'll fall in line. This isn't, by the way, this isn't conjecture. This isn't something that I'm making up. This is written about in the art of war. Back in the day, this has been a way that populations have been controlled. This is a way that societies have been divided. We keep each other fighting. I saw this really great meme or post where someone was talking about, think about it like this. Imagine that a really rich billionaire owned 2 soccer teams. And he owned both of those soccer teams. And he got these 2 soccer teams to be intense rivals and hate each other. And you had fans on both sides that were so adamant, so diehard, so in love with their teams. They hated the other teams, but they kept going to the games. They kept buying the merchandise. They kept saying, we have to beat this team, and they kept participating in the system. The billionaire that owns both teams doesn't care which team wins. As long as people keep participating in the system, the billionaire wins because he owns both of it. This is, in my opinion, the closest analogy in very simple form to what's going on right now. There is powers at be that want to keep us divided, that want to keep us fighting each other, that want to keep us at arms with each other so that we don't realize that we're being manipulated, so we don't realize that we're being controlled. And this is a huge problem because at the end of the day, there are other issues on this planet. For whether that's climate change to world hunger, to whatever it is, the plastic pollution. If we continue to fight about these ridiculous narratives that we are being sold and sold with all of that emotion and that control that I've just explained, if we keep focusing our attention there, we don't actually solve these other problems. We don't actually elevate this planet out of this scarcity, zero-sum separatism and into unity consciousness and into prosperity. And so it's important for you to understand what's going on so you have awareness. And when you have this awareness, now you have choice. And what is the choice? I want to leave you with something tangible, one takeaway that you get to do now, and that is to calm your nervous system. You get to develop the practices every single day to help calm your nervous system so that all of the information that you're being presented, all of the heightened emotions that you're being faced with, you know how to process that through your system so that you can step out of that reptilian fight or flight response and step back into the prefrontal cortex so that you can think rationally, think for yourself, question what's true, take in new information, be open-minded, and stay in a state of compassion. To stay in a state of love for your fellow humans who may not have the practices and the tools and the awareness that you have, and therefore you get to have compassion for them because they're in that fight or flight response. And you might have been in that once too. But because you had the awareness of it and because you started to take action on it, you started to shift that for yourself, and you can lead by example. Because attacking someone else isn't going to alleviate the fear in their system, it's only going to amplify it. So, calm your nervous system, self-soothe, stretch, meditate, journal, baths, breath work, TRE therapy, EFT tapping. There are so many ways in which you can actually do this. I'm not here to prescribe just one. I'm here to tell you from the very beginning, what you get to do now is start that process and make it a regular part of your day. I wake up every single morning and I do breath work and I get into my body. I stretch, I move, I connect. To help calm my nervous system so that I can be in a state of compassion and love, so that I can be rationally thinking about what this planet actually needs, what I actually believe, and be a conscious creator of that reality for myself and everyone else that I love so dearly on this planet. And so I want to say thank you for first and foremost listening to this podcast and taking this information in. I encourage you now to integrate it through your actions. Thank you so much for being a part of this deep dive tribe. Thank you for doing this difficult work, because it's not always easy, and I get that. And I encourage you, if you got value from this, if you know people in your life who are struggling with today's climate, with all of this misinformation and the intense emotions, please share this podcast out. Post it on social media, tag me at adam.roa, tag at the deep dive so we can reshare it and we can spread this message far and wide so we can help create a more loving world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.